Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sharpe channel. I am your co-host, Olivia Rondeau, and I am back at it again with another interesting video for you guys. Before I get into the topic, I'll just briefly mention where I've been at the last month or so. I had a very unfortunate death in my family. My uncle died pretty suddenly, kind of tragically. Personally, it was hard for me to work through. And this has been my first Christmas and holiday season without him. And I don't have a lot of family close by. And he was one of the only family members I have that, lives within 30-45 minutes of me. So I took that not so well. And also I have been kind of busy lately. This is kind of like a bittersweet situation because the other reason I was busy is because I've been a regular guest on Fox Business lately, which I know some of you have already seen from my own personal social media. I don't really promote a lot of my individual work on the Sharpe Way, but because I don't do it often, I thought it would be okay if I just mentioned, hey, catch me on Kennedy on Fox Business sometimes. I post the dates that I'll be going on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you follow me on any of my other social medias, you will see the dates and times I will be going on. That is why I have been kind of MIA besides the Thursday shows. I will be hosting Thursday shows regularly as I can, as well as getting back to my regular weekly upload schedule. So this is a topic that I am very passionate about and that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And for the aforementioned reasons, it took this long for me to get to it, but here we are. So today I'm going to be talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, the Ahmaud Arbery case, the Andrew Coffey case, and the Ghislaine Maxwell case. We're talking about some very, very interesting and high profile trials that have been all carried out within the last month or so. These probably won't require much background, but in case somebody isn't familiar with the most basics of details, I will go over them for you. So because these cases are so high profile, I know I don't have to do a lot of background information or a lot of context, but just as a slight refresher, Kyle Rittenhouse at the time was 17. He shot and killed 2 people and shot and injured 1 person last year during the height of the Black Lives Matter riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The trial played out. It turned out that it was self-defense. The jury decided it was self-defense and he was let off scot-free. In a legal sense. In the court of public opinion, things are a little bit more wishy-washy. He definitely has a reputation now. For some people, he is a hero. I mean, he has been surrounded by right-wing media fanfare and has basically gone on tour attending the Turning Point USA America Fest or AmFest in Arizona this past week. The issue is so hyper-partisan and polarized that the red team thinks that this guy is a hero, and the blue team thinks that this guy is a Klan member, white supremacist, domestic terrorist. The list goes on and on and on. If you follow my social media or really listen to anything I have to say at all, you could have probably figured out by now that I agree with the Rittenhouse verdict, that he was innocent and that he acted in self-defense. And this is clear from watching the trial, watching the evidence play out, watching the body cam footage, and I've actually spoken to one of the witnesses on the trial face to face. Richie McGinnis, one of the most important witnesses in the trial, actually works at the Daily Caller, where I used to do some work for, and we had talked about it way before the trial even took place months ago. He was one of the people who witnessed Joseph Rosenbaum die on the ground after charging and intimidating Kyle Rittenhouse, causing him to be shot and killed. I'm not coming at this from a biased partisan place. I'm not coming at this from necessarily a right-wing point of view. I'm coming at this from someone who talked to people who were there, watched the trial, looked at the evidence, and looked at the type of person that Kyle Rittenhouse seems to me, and I made my own evaluation. The evaluation that I made just happens to be the one that the jury agrees with. Did this kid do everything right? Probably not. There were probably a couple things he could have done differently. If I was a parent and I had a 17-year-old child, I know they would not be allowed to be going out to no riot or protest. That's for sure. That was a dangerous situation that no teenager should be in. But I can't really put full 100% blame on the teenager. I mean, he's a teenager. They're going to try to do stuff like participate in a protest, especially when they feel threatened. Because one of the biggest misconceptions prior to the trial that everybody kind of had was that this kid crossed state lines to go to this random protest in a town that he really had no connection to because he didn't live there. Well, No, Kenosha was not a random town that he had no connection to. He worked there. He was actually there to support and protect a minority-owned business because of the riots and protests that was going on. And he spent a lot of time there. I believe that it came out that his father actually lives there as his parents are split up. So while, yes, he did cross state lines, he lives around there, he works in the area, he grew up around the area, is his area. He also didn't go out there to antagonize Black people or to fight alongside the police against the protesters or anything crazy like that. In his mind, he was going out there to protect the business, and that was it. And the 3 people that he shot were all white. All of them. So how is he a white supremacist if he only killed white people? That's the worst white supremacist I've ever heard of. Literally, that is the worst white supremacist I've ever heard of. And so when the results of this trial came out, about half of America, who clearly did not watch the trial, who clearly did not talk to any witnesses, who did not evaluate Kyle Rittenhouse's character and just painted him as a white supremacist, they were up in arms. And I would say that one of the main demographics in America that was so hurt by this was Black America. And I talked about this on Sonny Johnson's show the other day. A lot of Black Americans, and I'm not going to give you a number because I can't say, but I've talked to Black Americans who don't necessarily believe that Kyle Rittenhouse was actually guilty. They may have done the same thing in that situation, but they are angry because they believe that the criminal justice system would not have afforded a Black man in the same situation with the same grace. And I think they're making a valid point there somewhat. Not when they take out their anger on Kyle Rittenhouse because he's a kid, he was in a difficult situation. I believe he did what he had to do to save himself. But I do think there's a valid criticism in critiquing the entire criminal justice system overall. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So the right-wing response, or the conservative response to a lot of Black America and just anyone who really is criticizing the criminal justice system and saying that a Black man would not have been afforded the same innocence and grace given to Kyle Rittenhouse if he was in the same situation as he was, are saying, or bringing up the Andrew Coffey case. Now, the Andrew Coffey case is not as high profile, and people are saying because, oh, it's a Black man who got off, and people don't want to realize that the criminal justice system isn't racist and that Black people do have a chance in the criminal justice system if you just follow the orders and if you just follow the law. And, you know, the cops really don't have it out for us, and so on and so on. And for a little background on the Andrew Coffey case, it was a sad story. The police essentially broke into his home. He didn't know they were there. He just hears someone breaking into his home. So he pulled out his gun. A firefight ensues. A bullet from a law enforcement's gun hits his girlfriend and kills her. So the law enforcement is painting the situation in where Andrew Coffey actually caused his girlfriend's death by not just complying and by shooting at the police, when he really was just thinking, there's somebody breaking into my house. I don't know who's here. There's somebody breaking into my house. I have to protect me. I got to protect my girlfriend. And so he was let off. The jury did not find that he was responsible for his girlfriend's death. The police released a statement afterwards saying that they disagree with this, that this is a miscarriage of justice, and that they feel bad for the girlfriend's family, which they really don't because they broke into the house while they was asleep, I believe. So that's BS. So because Coffey was found not guilty in the case of causing the death of his girlfriend, the right is using this example and touting this example out like, look, Kyle Rittenhouse got off, Andrew Coffey got off. That means white people and Black people are being treated equally in the criminal justice system. Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but Andrew Coffey, at the time of me recording this video, is facing up to 30 years in incarceration because he is a felon, and felons cannot have guns. So the gun that he defended himself with, rightfully defended himself with, and tried to defend his girlfriend with, is what may ultimately make him land in prison. And he might do hard time for it. Hopefully some type of way he doesn't, but felons are not supposed to have firearms. So even if you were in the right, even though you did everything within your right to protect yourself, which Andrew Coffey did, he is still legally in the wrong because he wasn't supposed to have that gun in the first place. And his girlfriend's dead. There's that too. He might go to prison and his girlfriend's dead. So no, all's well as not ends well. I don't think the Coffey case is a great example to use for how fair and just the criminal justice system is. In fact, it's a great case to use if you're pointing out how unfair it is for a black man to have cops barge in on him in the middle of the night, and now his girlfriend is dead, and the weapon that he rightfully used to defend himself is what may land him back in prison. So this is just horrible. But why am I talking about this on this channel? Why is this on a libertarian channel? What is the point of this? Well, I'm going to tell you. Libertarians can change the messaging around this, because the left is saying Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist. It's a white supremacist country. We're not going to get anything done, and we just have to keep riding. The right is saying Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. He's a hero, and there's nothing wrong with the criminal justice system. And look, Andrew Coffey got off, so that means black people have it all right. It's all right. No, that is, both sides are so wrong. And you want to know why I'm a little bit upset? You want to know why I'm just a little bit peeved? Because libertarians, when they could be taking the opportunity to say, hey, we're the side that actually wants Andrew Coffey to be able to own a gun. We are the side that actually wants Andrew Coffey to be let off. We are the side that thinks that this whole thing should have never happened in the first place. Libertarians don't believe in no-knock warrants. We don't want to give the police the right to break into anybody's home in the first place. Libertarians should be talking about how this should have never happened, and even though it did happen, he should not be in any legal or criminal trouble for defending himself with a weapon. And many people on the left and the right, because I know it's not a right-wing thing to support felons not having their rights back. I know that is just the majority of America, to be honest. But many people on the right have said this to me, just because I interact with more people on the right, just because of my online presence. But many people on the right have said this to me. Olivia, why would you want felons to have their guns back? I mean, why would you trust felons with their guns back? What if they're a violent criminal? You know, what if they're an armed robber? What if they're a sexual assaulter? What if they're a murderer? Criminals do not follow the law. Criminals apply the same logic that you conservatives use on Democrats when they talk about gun control. Criminals don't follow gun control, right? Criminals can get guns no matter what, right? Criminals will get guns no matter what, correct? So if you agree with all of that, then you saying that felons can't have guns is not really doing anything except for infringing on people like Andrew Coffey's rights, because he was not committing a crime with that gun. He was trying to protect himself with that gun. And to people who say, and I used to be one of these people, so this is not coming from a judgmental place. This is not coming from a high and mighty, I'm not a philosopher, so this is not my ideology that I'm just, imposing on everybody else. This is something that I had to grow into because I have the same thought. Well, I'm a woman, I don't want a rapist to walk around with a gun. I don't want an abuser to walk around with a gun. I don't want a murderer to walk around with a gun. If I cannot trust somebody in society to be able to protect themselves, then they should not be in society. That means that we should have harsher penalizations. That means we should have harsher laws and harsher penalizations for people like rapists and murderers and violent criminals. They should not be we should not have to worry about them getting a gun, because people who do horrible, horrific crimes like that, they should, honestly, in my opinion, they should not see the light of day. That's it. But what I'm saying is, I was one of those people that was like, I'm a woman. I don't want a rapist to have a gun. I don't want a woman abuser to have a gun. I don't want a murderer to have a gun. Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Like, I was definitely one of those people. But what changed my mind was somebody said to me, if you don't trust somebody on the outside, if you don't trust somebody in the real world to have the right to protect themselves, then they should not be in society. We should just have harsher laws. We should not be letting out rapists. We should not be letting out, murderers and killers and abusers and people like that. We should not be letting out all these violent criminals. There's too many violent criminals on the streets, and many of them are reoffenders. There are too many violent criminals on the streets. Many of them are reoffenders, and many of them reoffend with weapons. Many of them reoffend with guns. It's not stopping them. Gun laws are not stopping them. Gun control does not stop criminals, because criminals do not care about the law. That's what libertarian messaging should be like surrounding the Andrew Coffey case. We should be promoting this more than the conservatives do, because, and when I say conservatives, I mean the establishment Republican types who are really not looking at this case close enough. They're looking at this case from a place where he's black and he got off, and that's why I'm going to promote it, just to stick it to the left, just to stick it to the black people that are mad that Kyle Rittenhouse got off. The Andrew Coffey case is not really what I was led to believe it was from right-wing media. And so libertarians should take that and promote it and try to get this guy some help and try to bring some attention to the epidemic that is felons who have reformed their lives, who are not murderers or rapists, who want the ability to protect themselves. Because people can still victimize a felon after they've reformed their life, after they've served their time. Oh, and by the way, felons should get their voting rights too. I know that's not what this video is about, but I believe that after you serve your time, there should be nothing stopping you from voting. And another thing about certain black people being kind of salty about Kyle Rittenhouse getting off. I tweeted this, and I think I should put it up here too, just so I get my point across. Do not be mad at the wrong people. Do not be mad at Kyle Rittenhouse. He did not kill black people. He was not there to kill black people. He killed 2 white people and shot another one. One of the white people he killed was a convicted rapist, a child rapist. He was a pedophile, and that is easily found. He was found not guilty because he is not guilty, not because he's white and not because the judge was a white supremacist or anything like that. It is true that the criminal justice system is not always fair. It is true that black men have a disadvantage in the criminal justice system. I believe that. I agree with you. I may not agree to what extent. I may not agree with you in the manner, but I agree with that overall critique. However, you should not direct your critique at the white people who are being treated fairly by the criminal justice system. Some of y'all give me the vibes that you don't want black people to be treated better, but you want white people to be treated like black people. You want to bring everybody else down instead of empowering yourself and lifting yourself up. So that's my issue with that line of thought. And I know it's not just black people that think that. It's just a very vocal part of the black community that thinks that. I know a lot of people of any race who are Democrats or who are just, on the left of this issue who are, saying similar sentiments. But this is just something that I have heard that has been ringing through the black community continuously since the trial has ended. And I just have to say, you're right, but you're also wrong. So we've talked about Rittenhouse, we've talked about Coffey, and we've talked about how libertarians can change the messaging surrounding those 2 trials. So now you guys kind of get the theme of the video. I know I didn't do a great job explaining it before, but yeah, what I really want to get into is how libertarians should be talking about this, what the messaging should be, how should we process these issues, how should we process these trials. So let's move on to the next trial I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Ahmaud Arbery, which was the next case I wanted to bring up. Most of you have probably already heard of this, but for a small refresher, Ahmaud Arbery was killed last spring after 3 white men saw him in an unfinished house in their neighborhood, chased him down the street, yelling at him, cornered him. One of the men, Travis McMichael, got out of the truck that they were chasing him in and shot and killed him as Ahmaud Arbery tried to wrestle the gun away from him. So very sad situation. It was a 3-against-1 situation. And from CCTV footage from the unfinished home and from the CCTV footage, you can see multiple people who were not homeowners, not supposed to be there, walking in and out of the house. Now, I don't know if you guys do this where you're from. I never did this, but I know people who have. I live in a relatively newer development, I would say within the last 35 years. So not like brand new, but definitely newer. And surrounding my neighborhood are much newer developments. And so when I was a kid, there would be a lot of kids who would just go in and, explore housing developments and just, hang out in the frames where they're building houses. You're not supposed to be there. It's pretty dangerous. I never did it. But it was just something that kids do when they were bored. Now, on the CCTV footage, you can see groups of kids, you can see adults. A lot of white people actually went into the house, but Ahmaud Arbery, being black, possibly didn't look like he belonged in that neighborhood. Now, there were suspicions that he was robbing from the house. I can't confirm or deny that. I don't really know what he was doing. The narrative from the mainstream media was that he was jogging in the neighborhood, but He still was in the house, so it doesn't look like he was out for a jog. He definitely wasn't supposed to be there, but nobody was there. Nobody was in harm's way, and he didn't take anything from the house. The three guys see him. They start recording him, yelling at him. They hop in the truck, and they're chasing him down the street as this guy is running away. The video is out there for the people who want to see the whole thing. I actually did pay attention to this whole case pretty closely, since it was, I think, over a year and a half ago since it happened, but I have been keeping up with it as more and more facts and evidence came out with the case. So fortunately, all three men, including Travis McMichael, who was the one who actually, pulled the trigger and killed Ahmaud Arbery, were found guilty in his death. So they will be serving some serious prison time. I really, really hate the narrative on the right these days that thinks that because somebody is killed, and because it's a black man, and because the left is on the black man's side, they have to go through the black man's entire history, pull up a mugshot or pull up a criminal record or pull up when he skipped class in 6th grade and so on and so forth to justify what happened to him. What happened to him was cold-blooded murder. What happened to him was 3 unrelated people who did not own the house, who did not live with the house, who did not invest in the house, saw him, thought he was stealing, chased him down, and shot him. They were not police officers. They had no jurisdiction to do that. Under any circumstance, you are not allowed to chase someone down the street with a gun. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You are not allowed to. You are not supposed to. That is immoral. That is wrong. They killed the guy. Even if you think they're stealing, he could have stole $1 million and they would have been wrong for chasing him down the street and gunning him down. I know libertarians don't like to be politically correct. I don't like to be politically correct, but we have to be right, and we have to not always side with the right wing on issues, and we don't have to be silent when the right wing disagrees with us on issues, because I know a lot of libertarians who were kind of silent about this because the main, establishment on the right was talking about, whoa, they railroaded these guys. They were trying to protect their neighborhood. Well, Ahmaud Arbery was a criminal. He shouldn't have tried to wrestle the gun away. And libertarians were silent because they didn't want to be painted as, anti-racist or Black Lives Matter supporters. You don't have to support the Black Lives Matter organization to think that murder is wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you, but you don't. You don't. I also don't want you guys to get me wrong and think that I am saying that all libertarians have to have the same opinion on every single court case. That's not what I'm saying. But the reason I chose these specific court cases was because both the left and the right mainstream media and their influencers and their politicians have made a complete mockery out of these cases, a complete circus. The hyperpartisan BS has really gotten to me. It's super polarized, and really nobody has the correct take on these situations. The left thinks everything is white supremacy. The right thinks that everything is Black privilege and Black Lives Matter and communism and Marxism. It's just, there's no winning. There's no winning if you play into the duopoly. All I'm saying is that libertarians should be a little bit more pragmatic. They should think critically, as libertarians usually do. I think that libertarians are more principled than members of either major party, in my opinion. So that's just me explaining the level of respect I have for libertarians and the bar I hold them to, because I do think that we should differ from the status quo, the duopoly. The last case I wanted to talk about, and this really has nothing to do with other cases. It's not a case about racism, police brutality, Black Lives Matter, any of that. But the last case I wanted to bring up is the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Yesterday, she was found guilty on 4 out of the 5 counts, and she most likely will be, serving some serious prison time. However, and I tweeted this yesterday, I'll put it up on the screen. If the names are not revealed, if every single name of every single person that helped her traffic those girls, that helped her recruit those girls, that helped her groom and prey on those girls, everyone that bought those girls and sold those girls, if every single name is not released, then she was just used as a sacrificial lamb. She was just used as a scapegoat. And I'm not using those words to imply that she was in any way innocent. She's a disgusting, horrible witch. I hope she gets what's coming to her, and that's what I have to say on that. However, if it's only her that goes down and not most likely hundreds to thousands of high-profile figures, key players, and people going all the way down the line to people who just maybe drove the bus full of trafficked girls around, she is the scapegoat. They are just using her to throw the attention away from everybody else who's guilty. And we know there are other people that are guilty. We know there are people that she sold girls to. We know there are people that she bought girls from. We know there are people that she transported girls to. That means there are people that were in charge of transporting human sex slaves. It's a horrible, horrible thing to think about. It's a horrible thing to talk about, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but I feel like libertarians are actually, and I'm going to give you guys some props here. Libertarians are the people that are bringing this up in the media. Libertarians are the people that are making a big racket out of it. Libertarians are the people that are demanding answers. I don't see a lot of Democrats doing this. I do see some Republicans doing this, and it's usually the anti-establishment Republicans. It's not usually the elected politicians and the mainstream influencers and media pundits. But I want to see more. I want to see more people pushing for it. I want to hold myself accountable. It's not just a retweet, it's not just a Facebook reshare. I want to be like talking to people in real life and mentioning it and putting it in their minds. I was on Kennedy. I could put that clip up there too. I was on Kennedy not too long ago, and we were talking about the Jussie Smollett case of all cases, right? And I was like, hey, this is funny. I would love to be on the jury. It's a great, entertaining time, but let's talk about the Maxwell case. So that's what I'm saying. Libertarians are doing a good job of talking about the Maxwell case. Let's bring it to a great job. And that's all I have to say on that. Thank you for listening to my rant on all those high-profile cases. I hope you learned something. And if you disagree, let me know why. Put in the comments. We keep it civil over here on the Sharpe Way. And if you want to follow more of my work, you can follow me on Twitter at Rondeau Olivia, Instagram rondo.olivia. I'm also on Facebook, Olivia Rondeau, RONDEAU. And don't forget to like and comment and share this video. Subscribe to the Sharpe Way YouTube channel. Support Larry Sharpe and his work as well. And stay tuned. On Thursdays, I host a show, and I will be back to uploading regular videos. Thank you so much.